Good evening and welcome to the Radical Race Series Round 9 live from Monza. I am James Parfitt and I am joined in the booth this evening by the one, the only, Zach Sweeney is joining me for the Round 9 here tonight while Ewan O'Leary has a night off. And he's gone off to spend time with his family. So much love to him. Hope you all are having a fabulous time this evening. Hope you are all well. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining me. Autodromo Nacional de Monza. Well, let's have a look at this absolutely incredible circuit here tonight. Wrapped around the oval, 4 configurations, 3 in use at this moment in time. Broke ground in 1922 on the 15th of May and opened on the 3rd of September 1922. Currently holds the Formula 1, the FIA World Endurance and Championship 6 Hours of Monza, the European Le Mans Series, which is the 4 hours, FIA F2, F3, International GT Open, TCR Europe as well, amongst many others. The track tonight, 11 turns, 5.793 kilometres or 3.6 miles of absolute incredible racing. Some have described it as a few straights and a couple of squigglies. Others have described it as just one absolute draft fest of a racetrack. But let's bring in Zach Sweeney this evening and he can tell us how he would describe Monza. Good evening, Zach. How are you?
Good evening, James. I'm absolutely fantastic. Really looking forward tonight, of course. So thankfully, Ewan has decided to just take a step out for a week. Let me have a go. But this series is awesome, and Monza is a circuit that, as you say, it's a circuit that you could definitely describe in a number of different ways. I personally love Monza. I think it is fantastic, and it is, while on paper it doesn't look too difficult, it is a very difficult circuit to master, even just hot lapping, and also even more so in race conditions. It's one of those that you really have to be careful. You have to have your head screwed on tight. It's an oval in a sense without having an oval characteristic. It's an oval where you turn more than one direction, essentially, is Monza, because you've got that slipstream fest. You're going to naturally have some slipstream trains in the race. You've got to negotiate yourself really, really well and, try and pick your way through, because if you start battling too early on, you lose the slipstream to those in front too early on. It's hard to gain that time back up over the course of the rest of the race. So it's one of those where it's definitely a mental game alongside having that sort of that physical element of just driving quickly. So it's a very, very tough circuit, and honestly, sometimes it can be quite difficult to overtake as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting on the rundown into turn 1. I know there's been a lot of discussion this week about, drivers, please take it easy. It's going to be absolutely crazy down into turn 1. The tight braking zone at the end as well could cause some drivers some issues. So let's see how they get on. But the championship standings are currently in front of us at the moment. Simon Edwards is leading the way by 10 points on 241. Mike Buson in second, 231. Ben Underdown in third on 197. Luke Maxwell, 181. Paul LeMay on 168, just ahead of his brother Michael LeMay on 161 there as well. Paul Crabb is in 7th on 154. Damien G in 153. Graham Brown on 138. Dave Rollison 137. Paul Clark 122. Phil Glover in 12th place on 103. Jamie Bird on 101. Oliver Ettridge on 94. Dave Dowson on 90. Graham Brown on 86. Tied with James Child in 17th place. Phil Jocelyn on 84. Now, beyond that, we've got Scott Lear down on 83 with Darrell Taylor, Colin Wynn on 72, Austin Gretorix on 62, Dan Webster 60, Martina Ward 58, tied with Seth Brown, Dominic Lang-Webb on 38, John McHutchison on 26, and Richard Brown on 19. Now, one of the things I want to bring Mickey aware of is currently they've got drop weeks here. They've got 3 drop weeks, and they're not added to round 10. So we won't see the drop weeks come into effect till round 10, which, of course, is at Mosport next week. Then we go on to Bathurst on the 24th, and then we finish at Nordschleife, which, Zach, is a classic circuit in general and one that can be very testing for these young radicals here. A lot of curves that the drivers need to be a little bit careful of.
Yeah, I mean, just taking step back a bit and looking at the calendar as a whole, we start the season back at Spa, which is a fantastic circuit, really good to get the season underway. Okayama in Japan, the full course layout as well, very different to Spa in nature. And then we go to Interlagos, more twisty. Lasart for week 4, that again is something completely different. We've got a variety of different circuits that we're going to and that we have been to. But yeah, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, it's a track you don't often see for race series, particularly in the radicals as well. It's a very difficult circuit. I think it was Jackie Stewart that named it the Green Hell, and fairly so. It's such a tricky circuit, and yeah, for a finale to decide a championship potentially based on how close it is currently between Simon Edwards and Mike Bousson. Yeah, it's definitely going to be testing, as you say, in these radicals. They're so temperamental. They are literally like go-karts, just sort of jacked up with some various juices, I'm sure. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Bathurst as well, just the week prior for the penultimate round. So many fantastic circuits, and honestly, it should be some good racing alongside that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 15 laps here of the Monza GP circuit this evening. Last week out, Simon Edwards took the victory from Luke Maxwell, and then Ben Underdown claimed a very lucky third place as well after a collision made him managed to jump up into third. I said to Ben last week, it was all about taking the opportunities, I think, Zach, and he was given an opportunity on track where he could take that third place, and he grabbed it with both hands and said, well, thank you very much. If you two are going to go off, I'm going to come through. And I think that's what it's going to be for the rest of the season, is taking opportunities, especially with the racetracks that we've got. Monza here doesn't look like much, but we know the chicanes can be testing. Mosport, quite a nice fast-flowing circuit. Bathurst, the corkscrew, could cause problems all the way through. And then, of course, you're going to round out Nordschleife, which in its own right, it causes enough trouble as it is. But it's about taking that opportunities in a series that's so close at the moment.
The thing about racing is trying to win when you're not the fastest person on track. And if you can do that, then you are sorted. Like, take Mike Bousson, for example. He's not taken a single win so far this season, and yet he's second place in the championship. So consistent, so able to take opportunities as they come. Unfortunately, not being able to finish on the top step of the podium as of yet this season. I'm sure it should come. But it is a testament to those drivers that really do thrive, those drivers that are able to analyze the situation so well and go into each race, know what they're going to do, and use their experience as well as another really important factor when it comes to opportunities and chances, because it's how much do you play, how well do you push yourself in a battle. Say if it's 3 drivers, for example, 2 of them are fighting in front and you're the one languishing behind. Do you push hard and get involved, or do you wait in anticipation at knowing maybe that something might go wrong and you be able to nip up a lot easier? It's one of those things that you really have to react, play it as you come, and just see how it unfolds, how it races. And of course, with a series like this, where you've got a lot of dedicated drivers, you become accustomed to the drivers that you can and sort of can't trust, in a sense, with how much you can fight, and that again is going to play a factor in the opportunity taking. So yeah, it's an interesting factor for sure. But if you do want to win and succeed over the course of the championship, you have to maximize the days where you aren't particularly the fastest on track.
Absolutely. We are just coming to the end of practice before we go into qualifying. 10 minutes of qualifying for these guys here. Now, Mike has come out this week and said he's not done a lot of practice. So Mike's point of view from that one is, hopefully he'll be there or thereabouts. But I think even under his own admission, he's not expecting to be where he probably could normally be. And I think that's the thing for Mike this week. He's not put the time in. He said it himself. He come out and he said in Discord, don't expect much tonight, not put the time in. And he thinks he's still got some tech issues, as he did have some tech issues last week with his wheel. So from his point of view, second place could be somewhat out of reach again. He's been that Mr. Consistent. We even, as you know, we got this wonderful commentator's curse act that somehow manages to affect the drivers when we start talking about him. As to when we're talking about him. Is it
commentator's curse, or is it just bad driving?
Well, I don't know, to be honest, mate, because apparently it's commentator's curse. I got to be honest, I was doing a broadcast this morning and Biggles, we were just literally talking about a driver. Me and Biggles were saying how well he done, and next, as we were on him, he went and stuck it in the barrier. So, I don't really know if it affects that way. But we've even tried not even giving Mike a name. You know, we even tried calling him the man who shall not be named when he was winning in Watkins because we didn't want to curse him. And then he went and cursed himself in the chicane anyway. So, you know, Mike's the nearly man, and hopefully he can get to the top and actually take a victory this year, because I think if anybody does deserve it, it is Mike Bousson. So there you go. Let's see how we get on. But we are in qualifying. As you can see, it is close quali. Simon Edwards here, our championship leader, out on track, looking like he's having some internet issues currently at the moment, because he does keep blinking in and out. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Hopefully it won't affect us. Don't forget, guys, as well, tonight is sponsored by iLounge Racing. Please go and check them out, iloungeracing.co.uk. Do deal sim equipment. If you're really flush, you can actually buy a sim unit that costs you about £100,000. They will come and install it for you and run you through all the parts of what the sim rig can do. So go and have a look. The after service there is absolutely amazing. So please go and check them out at iloungeracing.co.uk with our very own Paul Clark. Do you fancy a sim rig, Zach, at £100,000?
Mate, honestly, I'll take it. If anyone wants to donate, you know, cough, cough, Santa Claus or whatever, you know, I've been good this year, mate. But no, I mean, I've talked before. I don't know if it was on with this series or not, but definitely alongside you about the simulators that I used when I did the competition up in Bolton. They were fantastic. I think they were valued sort of around about £40,000, and it was a proper sim cockpit. It was really, really good. And you know, that is sort of top of the line pinnacle of what you can get, but that was only £40,000. 100 grand. I want to know what you can get for that type of money.
Well, you'll have to go to iloungeracing.co.uk and have a look, buddy. Simon Edwards setting up 3 purples at the moment. I know he has got half a Formula 1 car, or a resemblance of a Formula 1 cockpit, so you can go and have a look there and see what you can get, because I think for 100 grand I'd want it made out of gold, but then again, I'm just tight in general, so what more could you ask for?
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I don't think gold would be particularly good on a race car, both for weight issues and the fact that it is a very soft metal. And if you go careening into the barrier with some gold, that is not going to be very good. But yeah, hey ho. It's like the when Jaguar put the diamond on their front wing at Monaco and completely lost it. That's sort of what it reminds me of. But yeah, no, I mean, it just goes to show how far simulators have come, I suppose, in like sort of recent years. You go back sort of 10, 15, 20 years, and you've got your little Wii steering wheel with no force feedback. You just hold it up in the air and you're whizzing around with Mario or Princess Peach, whoever you like to choose. And now we've got, state of the art, pretty much so close to reality simulators. It's mind boggling how quick the innovation has really thrived.
Yeah, I think this has taken a massive boom as well, as we know, since COVID has kicked in. So, there's a lot of plus coming out of sim racing at the moment. We are seeing Edwards on pole on a 140.82, nearly 8 tenths quicker than Luke Maxwell on a 141.67. Paul LeMay there, 142.11. We do expect the times to decrease. We'll have to see how much they can decrease by, but we are looking probably middle 140s, I think, to be at the front of the front. And I know Mr. Edwards has been pushing that this week, because he's been literally going at it hammer and tongue this week. I think he's going out to win the championship from this point, because he's been absolutely flying. You can see the qualifying at the bottom. If they are green, they're going faster. If they are purple, they're going fastest overall. And if they're yellow, they're not improving. So we'll keep an eye as it goes on. I know Graham Brown here has got quicker and quicker from Team GB as the season has gone on. You'll love this, Zach, if you love motorsport. If you have a look at Graham Brown's livery.
Where am I looking?
The old,
with him. There we are.
The old JPS livery. Absolutely love that from Graham, and I have declared that it is my most favourite livery ever. Just iconic. Absolutely love it, but it does. It looks very tidy. You obviously don't get excited as liveries as much as I do, clearly, on that one.
No, I do. It's just at the moment I can't exactly see it as well as I could, but I'm sure it is fantastic. Yeah, I can actually see it. Yeah, it is awesome. I do love liveries. They do add a lot of character to a car, don't they? It's like, it doesn't matter if it didn't win a championship or anything. Bonus points if it did, but even then, it just adds so much character to a car. You really sort of get a personality from it in a sense. And yeah, now I can see it. That is beautiful. And it really does fit the Radical quite well. You see oftentimes people do like they put liveries on like random cars, like they'll put an F1 livery on a GT car or something like that, and it just doesn't quite fit. But that livery on the Radical really does, catch your eye, and it is really, really nice.
Yeah, it does stand out. Absolutely incredible there as well. So I do love that one. Much love for everybody for being here. If you are, don't forget to give the video a big old thumbs up. Turn on the bells and hit the subscribe button, because that would be absolutely amazing. David Rolliston currently in 10th place here. Got green, yellow, green, green as he's coming around the Parabolica down the long start finish straight. Simon has got 2 purples in the middle as well, so we'll have to see how he's going to be getting on as he's coming around the final part now. Totally different line there to David Rolliston. He cut the line a lot quicker. Goes on a 140.751. That is pretty much where I think pole will be locked up. Luke Maxwell has really got no improvements, no answers back currently at the moment. 2 greens, 2 yellows. Another one that cuts that inside line, taking the shortest route possible, which is what we are expecting. Goes across the line 141.123. So he does improve, but doesn't get anywhere near the guys in front. Phil Glover coming across the line on currently a 142.254. Dave Dawson is another man that's had a very up and down season. He's currently out on track as well, down in 16th place. You've driven this circuit and love this circuit. Where do we think, if you were in this Radical and you know that if you hit the brake too much your back end's going round, if you don't hit it enough you're not stopping the car, there's that fine balance. Where would you be looking at making any moves, Zach? Because they've got to be careful.
They do. It's so temperamental, as I said a bit earlier on with the Radical. You have to. It's on a knife edge all the time. It's not a car you can ever really feel particularly comfortable with. And yeah, the brake pedal especially. I'm not entirely sure how it is on the power delivery, but with 475 brake and only 700 kilos, with also I think 380 pound-foot of torque, that is a lot of turning force going to the rear wheel. So I'm sure the traction's a little bit iffy as well. But yeah, in terms of braking, where it's a circuit that you're on the brakes for quite a long portion, and very hard. Sorry, you're not on them for very long, but you are on them quite hard. And they're also into a Ascari, you have to sort of trail them in. It's a very tricky car to drive, I'm sure. But personally, I would definitely eye up T1 and T2. The Retifido chicane is probably going to be their best bet. Down in towards the Roger, I think also is going to be a pretty good overtaking opportunity. Past that, I can't see anything happening, because Ascari, you send a move to the inside, it's going to be difficult to get that move done. It's such a quick corner, and it's also one of those that you have to play with the brake pedal going in. And if you're side by side on the dirty side of the circuit, it's again going to be quite risky. Parabolica as well, or recently renamed the Alboreto curve. Again, one of those corners where you carry a lot of speed going in, and you're not on the brake pedal for very long or for very hard, and it's so easy to get it wrong. So I definitely would eye up the 2 main chicanes of the Retifido and the Roger. I think that is for sure where we're going to see the majority of the action today.
Yep, I fully agree with you here as Patrick Charlton is on the grid. Good evening, Mr. Wynn. I hope you are well. Thank you so much. You're not finishing. You are in the session. Are you not driving, young sir? What's the situation with you currently at the moment then, as we've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's the end of quali. All right, we'll have a look at the grid. So we are going to have Simon Edwards in third place, Luke Maxwell in second, Mike Booth on third, Paul Crabb fourth, Graham Brown in fifth, Paul LeMay sixth, Michael LeMay in seventh, Paul Clark eighth, Ben Underdown ninth, David Rolliston 10th, Jamie Bird 11th, Graham Brown down in 12th place. Beyond that, we've got Phil Glover in 13th, Patrick Charlton in 14th, Seth Brown 15th, Damien G 16th, Dave Dawson 17th, Phil Jocelyn in 18th, and Colin Wynn, no, he's out well, he's down in 90th, but he won't be there. So there we go. So a very interesting grid. Simon Edwards out in front. He's got to get away at the beginning, to really kind of make the most of pole. Would you say pole was as important here as it's been at other tracks?
I mean, yes, in a sense, because it can be quite difficult to overtake at Monza. It is a circuit that's either really good for action or actually you quite have some couple of dull races. But for Simon Edwards, his priority is to just get away and go. It's not the longest run in the world from the start to T1, but it is a relatively long one. With Slipstream, he needs to make sure he gets a good start, consolidates that lead, especially with Mike Busson directly behind him in P3. He needs to get a really good launch and try not to get caught up in the melee of T1. But at Monza, you either want to start right at the front or right at the back, and well, ideally right at the front, and Simon Edwards has done exactly that. So coming in on pole, he's going to be expecting to come out with a victory, but only time will tell. 13 laps, another 5 red lights.
Here we go. 1, 3, 4, 5. Everybody's away at the moment. Oh, Luke Maxwell got an absolute barnstorming start, as did Paul Crabb. He's already passed Mike Busson. Graham Brown's looking at coming up the inside as well as they go down into the first chicane. Here is Luke Maxwell with the whole shot. Got past Simon Edwards off the start with Paul Crabb, Mike Busson. There's already been action further back. Jamie Bird has been involved. Patrick Charlton, David Rolliston there as well. All involved in that, well, melee, should we say, of turn 1, which is what we expected along with Paul Clark. But overall, Luke Maxwell and Simon Edwards are now going in side by side. Edwards goes up the inside, he comes out the other side, and they're still side by side, Zach, currently at the moment.
In towards the first of the 2 Lesmos, you can see there Paul Crabb just sitting idle waiting for his opportunity. Simon Edwards though quickly getting himself back into the race lead, so important. But now this run through the second Lesmo, it's so crucial to get a good power delivery, to get on the throttle early, to have that drive towards Ascari, because Luke Maxwell is going to want that race lead back. He cannot allow Simon Edwards to get away. He's one of those drivers that if you allow him to get away, he will take it and will just fly away. So for Luke Maxwell, he's got to stay in that slipstream, he's got to stay away from Paul Crabb and just put that pressure on the championship leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have a quick look back as these guys are running up into the final corner. How this all kicked off here with Paul Clark. He's sat inside the car currently at the moment. And as you can see, it all comes down into a bottleneck. There goes David Rolliston first. Oh, back along the track. He's not stopping that car at the moment until it gets back onto the asphalt, and he is. That is why that one has happened. There's that, but easily done. It's kind of what we expected. Luke Maxwell currently losing time at the moment. Graham Brown is making a move up the inside of Mike Busson as we go down into the first variant chicane here. Nothing doing at the moment, but that was kind of what a precedent move going 3 wide down into the first corner is going to do for you.
Yeah, it's Monza. It's known for that type of carnage and chaos, particularly into turn 1, lap 1. As we very well have come accustomed to. It's something you do expect, and it's sort of a surprise if it does all go right. But yeah, definitely not the wisest decision making for a couple of drivers. You can't win a race on lap 1. You can definitely lose it though. But yeah, everyone now just trying to settle in. There is the fantastic Lotus livery of Graham Brown trying to get himself up into P4. But here is our race leader at the moment, Simon Edwards, trying to bridge the gap away from Luke Maxwell, just in behind in second place, but not quite able to. I think the toe is strong enough that Maxwell is able to make up what he loses in the corners back up down the straight. Yeah,
he was out about 0.52 of a second, and he still caught toe and pulled it all the way back down into the 4s. So he's got to try and stay with Simon Edwards, which is no easy feat. He managed it near enough in Road America. I'll tell you what, he went across the line 0.140 seconds back, so he almost was there. So I think Luke Maxwell, it could be in for an absolute barnstormer. I want to pick out Phil Glover currently. He is all the way down in 8th. That might not sound too bad, but he did start in 13th. Oh, Paul Clark to pull him in a big block on Ben Under down there. So Phil Glover up 5 places currently at the moment. We will have a chat with Phil at the moment. He does sit in the booth waiting for us to pull him in, but we'll give him a little bit more time to settle down before we have a chat with him as the leader's gone across the line. Luke Maxwell 141.418. Ben Underdown is slowly coming back through the field. He's had a very consistent season this time, Zach, and he's looking at making moves currently at the moment, but can't clear Paul Clark as there was a big puff of smoke. Oh no! Mike Busson.
I think that was with Crab. I saw them both tumble down, and he's actually escaped back to the pit lane, which is heartbreak for him. Going to take another look as to how it happened. Riding on board with the Team Radline driver and down in towards the Retafilio chicane. Going to have a look. He is the yellow car and just got way too low on the brakes. Smacked into the back of Paul Crab, I believe. Both of them going off into the runoff area. Luckily, it is there. There is no barrier, but Paul Crab, he... for a teammate as well, his teammate, which is even worse, you have to say. But he was just a passenger in that, where there was nothing that he could have done. And again, that is a testament to what we've been hammering throughout this broadcast of just how sharp these cars are on the brakes.
Yeah, absolutely there as well. And Mike is now jumped back into the pits, so Mike is in the pits. He's probably going to show up that he'll be out altogether, I would have thought, because I know he hasn't had much practice here currently at this moment this week, so we'll have to see how he gets on. But at the moment there, Mike Buson, nothing doing, no points, which isn't bad, I suppose, from his point of view, because he was in for losing quite a lot of points because he hasn't had many non-finishes. That drop week couldn't take away that 0 points. So the points that he was going to lose were the ones that he's earned valiantly as he's gone on, Zach. You know, drop weeks are a funny thing. I don't necessarily know if I like them or not, but I think it doesn't reward the people that turn up every week. It kind of rewards people that have missed weeks or had an incident where they could drop a 0, but the guy that's turned up every week has got to drop 40 points, for instance, if he hasn't lost any. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do get that, but also I think it, you know, gives people a chance. You know, it's sim racing. There's different circumstances to take into account: work, family, things like that. People are naturally going to miss rounds, and to have those drop weeks is good to keep a championship alive, because it'd be so gutting if, you know, someone's been on fire all season long and then get to sort of the last round and have to miss it for some other reason. So it'd be good to take sort of that drop round and still keep them in contention. But yeah, it's one of those things that you can debate for quite a while. I personally like them. It depends how they're applied, really, how many drop weeks you have, and this, that, and the other. But that aside, they don't apply until next round, so we'll have to wait and see how everyone racks up afterwards. It is still Simon Edwards and Luke Maxwell that lead the way. 4.7 seconds clear now of Graham Brown in P3. It is a 2-horse race out in front as we approach halfway into this race, lap 4 of 13, and it does seem to be heating up, hopefully, in the next couple of laps between the pair of them.
Yeah, am I looking at that Paul Crab car correctly? There's no rear wing on that.
No, yeah, no, you're not seeing things.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking because I've never really seen that before. Normally the wing does reappear, but no, there's definitely no rear wing on Paul Crab's car currently at the moment. So whether or not that's a mistake, I'll have to have a look. But this is what happened to Phil Glover, Mr. Wynn. Let's try that from a different angle, because that was quite shocking. But we'll have another look.
So it just looks as though he got smacked into from behind. Is that from
Paul Crab?
Oh, it just comes to the left a little bit under braking, and obviously that is. I mean, Paul Crab, sorry, wasn't quite alongside, but again, still you can't be moving to the left under braking. It's a straight line. You shouldn't really be turning quite yet. But those are the sort of the types of things that happen, and. I mean, for Monza, it's probably not the worst bit of damage to have, but he's definitely going to start to feel the effects of that, and actually going to make a move there. Is that now going through the Retafilio chicane? That is on Graham Brown, and getting the exit off there. We're going to run side by side, and without that rear wing, he's definitely a bit punchy in the straight line. Yeah,
it's as I say, I've never seen it before. Normally the wings do appear, but let's keep an eye on that one as we go along. Back up front, the gap is currently down to 3 attempts. We will pick up the battles as we are going along, because we can see there as well, Phil Jocelyn is in a battle with Patrick Charlton, which we will jump down to, as they are literally, well, nose to tail pretty much. And from that point of view, you know, they've got to be kind of going for it, but they've only got 8 laps here at the moment, Zach. You know, they've got to be thinking a little bit, and that Phil Glover incident looks a bit bizarre. I'm not quite sure where that was. Oh, Patrick Charlton has gone round. Patrick Charlton has gone around and dropped it down the order. You literally saw it firsthand there. Ben Underdown is another man that's gone on a move at the moment. He's made his move past Paul Clark. Has he nearly? Maybe not. Just... Yes, he has. He is through. So that's Ben Underdown up 4 places into 5th. How would you look at that Phil Glover incident, Zach? Because that looked a very bizarre one, considering it's not, as you say, he wasn't alongside there. So from Paul Crabb's point of view, we'll have a look on board with the chopper.
I don't. They sort of just magnetized together. Sort of one went left, one sort of drifted right a little bit, and it was just that little bit of contact. When you're going that speed and pressing the brakes, it's so again difficult to not have a bit of a crash. But yeah, I put it down as a racing incident. I don't think either of them were particularly the majority stake of fault. There was more both of them could have done to prevent that incident. And yeah, it's just one of those things that unfortunately do happen. That is deep there. That is from Damien Guy going through, and that could allow him to be under pressure from Seth Brown just in behind, heading in towards the Lesmo. You can see Brown there in that green radical, not quite alongside to be able to go for the move, but was eyeing it up, and that is a mistake that is so easy to make. Going in a bit too hot, fast in, slow out. It's definitely preferred to be slow in, fast out. Went in a bit too deep, completely tarnished the momentum, and he is going to be lucky that he has not been passed and had to lose that 7th place.
Damien G there as well. He's been he's been quite consistent this season. It's been quite interesting to see Damien G in this series and other series that we cover that he's in as well. He is consistent in the Radical SR10. It is his favourite car. He drives it continuously, but did get a little bit hot in there and has left himself open to Seth Brown. Phil Jocelyn has got Graham Brown behind him. Now, Graham, again, has been one of them drivers that's done consistent and managed to do well this season. I think that's going to be the major thing. I think when you look at racing, as you can see on Phil Jocelyn's car is looking a little bit damaged there along this side. Consistency in any season is, as you can see with Mike Bousson, generally, apart from the last couple of weeks. As we just watch here, I just want to see if Graham's going to make this down past Phil. We will go down into the first chicane. Tight braking zone at the end. Is Graham going to make it? He's in the blue and black. He is. I think Phil Jocelyn concedes that place a little bit earlier back. But what it means is they've got to be consistent, because otherwise their championship chances are lacking almost.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be the same in whatever season. I mean, they have got 12 weeks of racing, which is quite a few compared to some seasons. They also have the 3 drop weeks, so they can afford to take a bit of a risk and have a poor round here and there. But overall, you are going to want to have that consistency. You're going to want to come in and deliver week in, week out. Make sure you are on it from pretty much from day one. You can't get the season off to a poor start, because then you start to lag a little bit. It's like, okay, I need to get going a little bit. I need to finally get a good result. And then by the time you do, you're a little bit too far back, and then it's sort of unrecoverable. So it's good to just get off on it and use each round as a stepping stone towards the finale, especially if you are in a championship fight. Like Simon Edwards, off the back, he's got 4 wins so far this season. He's been in the top 5 for 6 races also. He has been on fire, so good, and that's because each week he uses last as a stepping stone. He uses that morale boost to then boost him back up going into the next week, and that is so important. But yeah, no, it's a driver like Simon Edwards. He's already got 3 championships in this series, and well, he's going to be eyeing up a 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. 1.6 seconds out in front as well. Colin Wynn did see the option to remove the wing in the car setup. No, I'm sure it's probably in there somewhere. And Ben Underdown has been consistent this year. Yeah, he has been consistent. Damien G and Seth Brown are battling it out now. Seth has got through on Damien G, and that is Seth Brown up into 7th place here. Graham Brown with Paul LeMay behind him as well. Paul's had some good results over the last few weeks. Has been battling on nicely here in this one at Monza with literally 5 laps to go. Paul's got a big arse. He's got about 8 temps back currently at the moment. G and Brown are fighting as well. Jamie Bird looks like he's locked up here in a battle chasing down Dave Dawson. Oh, as we say that, Dawson goes round.
That is really unfortunate for him to be locked in that fight. And also there, is that Rolliston? Yeah, getting not the best of exit. Here comes Brown to join the party. Are they going to be 3 wide into the Desmo? There goes Brown to the inside of Dawson. And that was a pretty easy affair. But yeah, Dawson a little bit shaken, I think, from that incident. Tagged round, I'm not sure if he lost it by himself. Didn't quite was able to see. But that's besides the point. Simon Edwards, though, down to 2nd place. I did see with Luke Maxwell, he lost a couple of seconds. What happened to Simon Edwards into the Roger, this is turns 4 and 5, Oh, that is a mistake, and into the barrier as well. A pretty hefty hit, which has allowed Maxwell to take the race lead. They're being pretty equal on pace, it must be said, in terms of their best laps, a 41-1 apiece for the pair of them. And that is a very uncharacteristic mistake there we just saw from Simon Edwards.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not many we have seen this season, and that was one that is probably going to cost him this race, because I don't think Luke there will kind of make the same mistake. I'm hoping not anyway. But Damien G here coming down now with Seth Brown. These guys are still going too far now. And behind that, we've got the Graham Brown, David Rolliston battle as well. But that's Damien G through this time. And here is Graham Brown and Dave Dowson. Dave Rolliston, they're having a nice little freeway battle, swapping positions as they go at the moment. And it's David Rolliston leading the front of the pack. Graham Brown's gone a little bit hill, going to jeopardize his exit here. This could lead to Dave Dowson running up, making that move if he can. Tucked right behind him at the moment, Seth. They're having a nice little scrap as the race goes on.
Yeah, they are. It's good to see how it's progressing. We've also got a couple manufacturing up and down the field. Unfortunately, we haven't quite got the fight for the race lead due to some unfortunate circumstances between both Luke Maxwell and Simon Edwards making mistakes at different points that have put them off sequence with each other. But we have also got Paul Lemay on the back of Graham Brown a little bit further up the fight for the podium, which could be one to have a bit of a look at as we've definitely approached sort of the final third of this race. It's really developed quite well, actually, with the number of drivers sort of settling into their own sort of little battles, little packs, as we saw there with Rolliston, Brown and Dowson for the fringes of the top 10, fighting for a pretty significant milestone. You know, to finish the race is one thing, a top 10 is always a pretty good target to aim for, and between the three of them fighting for it, only one can get it.
Yeah, let's have a quick chat with Phil Glover. Phil, welcome into the booth. How are you getting on, young sir? Nope. Maybe we'll leave Phil back for a minute. We'll have a chat with Phil at the end. He's obviously clearly... He did say to me, I've set my button up, James. You can pull me in and have a chat, and I can just hit the mute button. I was like, all right, mate, no worries. We'll have a chat. Clearly, obviously, why he's driving there as well is not the most easiest thing to do. But Paul Lemay, Graham Brown is catching up with Simon Edwards. The gap now down to about 2.4 seconds. Edwards last time out, 1:42.76. Lemay on a 1:42.14. So they are catching him by about 6/10 at the moment. Here, Zach, you know, do we think there's an opportunity if Lemay can take it over Edwards? Because he's just cleared Graham Brown. So, you know, there's an opportunity there. Maxwell's also been off track, but he has come back on and is quite happy at the moment. Edwards has gone off, but I think that's picking up where they're running wide there, I've got to be honest. But Edwards lost 6/10 last time out, 5.8 seconds on lap 8 where he went off. Could he be caught, do you think? 2.3 seconds and the gap is coming down.
What have we got? We've got 3 laps of this race left to go. The gap is around about 2.5. And once they're in the slipstream, of course, it's going to exponentially increase because of obviously the slipstream is going to allow them to close quicker. So I think it definitely is a possibility. Simon Edwards, of course, we saw did take a pretty hefty whack into that barrier, so might be suffering some damage on an already twitchy car. It's just going to make it even worse. He's going to lose that confidence, that morale in himself, and that is, of course, going to affect his driving. I'm sure Simon Edwards is the type of driver to sort of just brush off mistakes, put it behind him and carry on. But if you've got some damage, naturally that is going to affect how you drive the car. I don't think it's too outlandish of a thing, especially with Paul Lemay. Let's have a look on that last lap. Only 2/10 gain. So I think it is going to be a difficult catch, but definitely one that you can't rule out entirely, especially with Simon Edwards. You know, that spin affecting his tyre temperature, his damage. It's not, you know, out of the question for him to make yet another mistake. I don't know if Graham Brown's in on the picture as well, though, because for him, he's fighting for 3rd place. Does he work with Paul Lemay to catch Edwards?
Well, it makes more sense. You can see these guys here to catch up with Simon Edwards. From Graham's point of view, you know, they are closing the gaps down to 2.4. They are pulling them in, and if they don't work together, they are going to be fighting, which of course, as we know, does end up slowing them down at the same time. But from Paul's, you know, chances of catching him, they've got to increase if they work together rather than if they fight. It's like anything, you know, you scrap, you slow yourselves down, you don't push forward together. They pulled out 2 temps, they pulled out 8 temps over the last lap, over the last 2 laps, which equates near enough that they're going to do another 8 temps over the next 2 laps. So it could be a last lap shootout if they can close enough. But they've got to try and do that together, because I don't think they can be able to do it on their own. But then, as I say, that Simon Edwards pulls the gap out to about 2.6 seconds. So here we've got back up with the Seth Brown and Damien G battle. These guys still fighting it out now as they're coming into Ascari. Here, Seth Brown in the green, Damien G in the white there that we are accustomed to, chasing down Seth Brown currently at the moment as well. Not long to go, about 2 laps left, and then we come to the end of the race, and at the moment Luke Maxwell out in front by 3.6, Simon Edwards 2.6 back from that. Paul LeMay, however, has not got that opportunity. He's got Graham Brown literally 2 tenths behind him at the moment. Zach as they're going down into turn 1. Graham Brown sticking his nose out. Is he going to be poking it through? He's not. Sits there behind. Paul doesn't. Gets a slow exit out there. Zach, how's he going to deal with this going up to the next set of curves?
Always going to be difficult. The slipstream flat out now through Curva Grande. Eyeing up the move there was Brown to the inside. Not quite going to work out. He's practically pushing him through. Now looking to the left-hand side, the inside for the Roger. He's definitely got a better run. Dirty side of the track, twitchy brakes as well. He's got to be brave. He's got to be committed. Paul LeMay to the outside. That's definitely brave. And he's made it stick. He's going to try and hang on. Still side by side. The fight for the podium rages on. Brown with a better drive going in towards the Lesmos. Paul LeMay forced to concede there. Down to 4th place. They have definitely got no hope of catching Simon Edwards there in 2nd place now, but what a move that was from Brown. What a defense that was from LeMay. You don't often see drivers going to the outside of the Roger and actually making it stick, but he gave it a go. Unfortunately, his momentum was tarnished too much, and Brown was able to get the drive to the outside, and he's got a fantastic livery, and he's definitely got a fantastic offensive strategy on him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We normally would come to expect that of these guys ending up in the barrier together, as that's the normal case when you look at anybody going too wide through that chicane. As you say, they've got no chance now of catching Simon Edwards. He's too far out in front, 4 seconds at the moment. That fighting has jeopardised them, which is what we did say. So Luke Maxwell from ITGL Racing here is going to be coming across the line for the final lap of the race. He's done a stellar job, absolutely got an barnstorming start, made some move over Simon Edwards, then Simon got him back, and now he's out in front after Simon's mistake. But Graham Brown and Paul LeMay have not given up. LeMay's now heading down into the inside. How is this going to work out here? LeMay on the right, Brown on the left, and LeMay goes through. I don't think we're going to see the last of that over this last lap, Zach.
No, I don't think so, because Brown's actually got a pretty decent exit through Curva Grande once again. It is deja vu from lap 12, and he is closing at a rate of knots. Is it enough to go for the move into the Roger? I don't think so, but definitely don't count out if he is brave enough on the brakes. He is having a bit of a look to the left-hand side. LeMay gives him the squeeze. Here comes the number 13 to the inside once again. Brown to the inside. LeMay sees it coming, tries to go for the up and under, but not quite enough. And now Brown has got the measure of him in towards the Lesmos. As long as he can keep it clean through the Lesmos and down towards the Ascari, you have to say he's got P3 in the bag, but don't count anything out at all.
No, these guys going out of Lesmo 2 now, heading down into Ascari. Paul LeMay behind him. Graham Brown in front at the moment. The gap is about 4 tenths. That will come down as we're heading in to the Ascari chicane, which will be the last one before we go round the long right-hander of the Alberetta curve at the end of the straight. So can LeMay stay with him currently at the moment? The gap's out about 0.5. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make that move into that last corner, Zach. I think it's going to be, that one's going to be done. However, Damien G and Seth Brown are still having a scrap, but we will pick up Luke Maxwell as he's going to come across the line and take the victory here in Monza by about 3.7 seconds. What an absolute stellar drive from Luke Maxwell. Simon comes across the line in 2nd place. Brown here in 3rd with LeMay as it stands currently in 4th. Bent under down. Moves his way up 4 places up into 5th place. Does an absolutely stellar job. Damien G and Seth Brown. This is going to be the rundown into the line. Who's going to get this one? Here, Damien G on the left, Seth Brown on the right. Damien's trying to squeeze him in. Seth tucks in behind him. Too late. Too late. Brown, G took the victory. Brown comes across behind him there. Jamie Bird behind that one as well. Graham Brown, David Rolliston all finish off. Phil Jocelyn is going to be looking at coming across the line in 12th place. Dave Dowson 13th. Phil Glover down in 14th place. Michael LeMay down in 15th. And then, of course, Paul Crabb, who still hasn't got a rear wing on, Zach. That's mightily impressive.
Respect for finishing this race. I mean, yeah, that's commitment. I mean, I'm not entirely sure as to how the point system works in terms of finishing order, but it was I mean race distance. Sorry, so he's continued on, and obviously in an effort to try and scrape as many points as he can, because if he DNF'd, he wouldn't have scored any points, unfortunately. So yeah, that's definitely commitment. But yeah, fantastic race overall. We saw some great battles, and for Luke Maxwell as well to take the fight to the championship leader, a 3-time champion at that. It takes guts, and he pulled it off to perfection.
Absolutely. Paul Crabb does go down into 16th. He does get 15 points. So there we go. So Luke Maxwell is out in front. He is your winner this evening. Simon Edwards in second. Luke made an opportunity. He got the start. He put Simon under pressure. Simon then binned it and unfortunately lost the position to Luke. So Luke did capitalise on Simon's mistake. Graham Brown had that wicked battle with Paul LeMay for third and fourth. Graham coming out on top on that one. Ben Underdown in fifth. Paul Clark in sixth. Damien G in seventh. Seth Brown 8th, Jamie Bird 9th, Graham Brown 10th, David Rollison 11th, Phil Jocelyn 12th, Dave Dowson 13th, Phil Glover down in 14th, Michael LeMay in 15th, Paul Crabb in 16th, Patrick Charlton 17th, Mike Bousson is the last of your runners down in 18th place. Well, that was a good one. That was a good race. You know, Simon Edwards making an uncharacteristic mistake that we wouldn't normally see from him. I think that's one of the things that he himself may be kicking himself a bit. I'm going to see if I can get him in for a chat. So, yeah, I think from his side of things, he doesn't make many, Zach. I think that's the thing. He doesn't make many mistakes, but that one could be costly if we look at it at the end of the season.
It's one of those things that you get to the end of the season, you look back on your season as a whole, especially when you're in a championship fight, particularly what is going to be the case with Simon Edwards, because you have to say that he definitely is going to be. And it's times like this where you look back and you think, I could have done better. That could have been an extra win. That could have been, say, an extra 5 points in terms of the championship. And that could have been the difference if he does end up losing the championship. So it's hindsight that can really be sort of a ball and chain around your ankles when you make those mistakes. But for Simon Edwards, you get 3 drop weeks. He's been on fire. He's still going to be leading the championship when it comes to next week. And honestly, it's fine because it's one of those things you can afford to have. You're only human. You're going to make mistakes. But Simon Edwards, he's a driver that's at such a high caliber, especially over the course of this season and in the Radical in general, that it shouldn't matter too much. And even in that race, we saw how quickly he was able to brush off that mistake and continue on. So I don't think it's going to be massively costly, but you are right in saying that things like that really can tarnish a championship campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got Luke Maxwell in the interview waiting room. So let's bring in Luke this evening. Mr. Maxwell, good evening to you, sir.
All right.
Hello, mate. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yeah.
Oh, all right, bud. How are you doing there, buddy?
I am fantastic, mate. Really, really pleased with that. I was not expecting the win. I was thinking, I know how quick Simon's been this week. He'll practice. I'll I'll try and sit in his toe and see what happens. But yeah, luckily for me, he spat off, and then despite my best efforts, I managed to hold on.
Yeah, well, you got an absolutely barnstorming start, didn't you? You know, you took the lead. You got that run that you necessarily needed. But as you say, Simon just come back at you not long after.
Yeah.
There wasn't much chance to settle in that first place before he was sending the car up the inside again.
Yeah, absolutely. He got a good run out of. I think Simon's very good out of the first chicane. He always seems to pick up a lot of pace there. I remember, I think last season he was the same. And yeah, and obviously, you know, it's tight when you're going around there, and he just obviously got a much better run, and he clearly had a bit more pace. So yeah, I tried to give it a good bash on the first lap, but I thought let's settle in, you know, see if I could put a bit of pressure on Simon. Obviously, I've got a slow down there, so I got a bit greedy trying to serve it as well. I was thinking, I've nearly got rid of it, and then took some corners too quickly, and it's back up to 0.6 again. So yeah, had to back right off then.
Yeah, that would be where the gap come from of about 1.6 seconds. But, you know, you went on to take the victory. Moving forward, Mosport, you know, that's not too bad, is it, really? There's something to look, you know, head up with and go in there.
Yeah, I'm more looking forward to the ones after, if I'm honest. It's not a track I've raced a great deal. I mean, I know my way around it, I suppose, a little bit, but I'll have to put the hours in, I guess, this week to see if we can get up to pace and you know, come up with something that doesn't chew through the tyres and see how we go. But yeah, I think more Bathurst and Nords are my ones I'm more excited about, if I'm honest.
Yeah, well, absolutely a barnstorming job, Luke. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before you leave the booth this evening?
I'm going to give a shout out to Andrea from ITGL at work, and he's from Monza. So,
Oh,
hey, Andrea.
There you go. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, Luke, for joining us. And we look forward to chatting to you again next week.
Hopefully. Cheers, guys.
Take care, mate.
See you.
Right, let's bring in Simon Edwards into the booth here this evening. Good evening to you, Simon. How are you?
I'm okay. Just annoyed with myself.
Yeah, that was kind of an error on your own part, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just put my delta up, so I was just going to cruise to a time, and then first corner I come to, and I just clip the grass, and then made all the way to the wall, which damaged the car. You probably noticed from my top end speed, but I was really lucky to get going again in the right direction.
Yeah, well, you managed to stay in front of Graham Brown and Paul LeMay, but then again, they were having an absolute barnstorming battle for third. So, you know, they were closing. They did get the gap down below 2.4 at one point, and then a great battle they had dropped him back out. So you survived second place, which isn't too bad. Not too bad, is it, going in with only 3 races left?
No, that's what I was thinking. Well, that's what I was trying to justify myself towards the end of that race, yeah. Horrible just seeing that time, you know, when you've got your delta up, you can just see your time eating away down the straights. It's horrible.
Yeah, I know. But positive is you kept it on in second. You scored points. You're still leading the championship. Mike didn't finish. So, you know, all in all, there is positives out of finishing second this week.
Yeah, I didn't realise Mike hadn't finished. That's a pity.
Yeah, he didn't finish. Him and Paul Crabb had it coming together. But overall, going into motorsports, what are we expecting from yourself in motorsports?
Oh, I love motorsports. So, well, I love this place as well. You can probably tell from my pace.
Yep.
But yeah, I love motorsport as well. And the one after, I think it's
Bathurst. Yeah, Bathurst.
Yeah. So next two, I love both of them. So it should be a good battle as well, because it's another track where you've got a draft, so you've got to play it tactically.
Absolutely, and with the 3 drop weeks incoming as well, they will be taken off in around 10 of the scores on. So, you know, overall, you've got a lot coming up at the moment. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before you leave the booth this evening?
I think I'll just give a shout out to you guys again, I think, because last week's commentary was really on the ball. You really played what was happening between us very well. So I'm very, you know, I'm glad we've got you as a broadcaster.
Thank you very much, Simon, and we look forward to having a chat with you next week.
Yeah, I'll see you then.
Right, let's pull in Graham Brown. Graham had one of the fights of the race with Paul LeMay. So welcome in, Graham. How are you, sir?
Hi, James. Yeah, I'm all good, thank you.
Well, that was exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a good fun race there with Paul. Enjoyed that.
Yeah, swapping positions consistently, coming back at each other, going down into the first chicane. Managed to hold it on the final lap and took the 3rd place and obviously on the podium. From your perspective, how was it for you within that race with Paul LeMay chasing? Because Paul's had a couple of good weeks, hasn't he, leading up into this? So he was a little bit on fire.
Yeah, Paul was quick. Even in practice, he was on fire, really. Yeah, I knew he was going to put a move in at some point. It just looked like he was just holding back, just biding his time to the end of the race. And then it kind of came alive, sort of like 4 or 5 laps from the end.
Yeah, you were swapping places pretty much every lap at one point. One was past the other. You know, at one point here, I can see that, you know, you swapped 2 or 3 times. So it's races like that that kind of gets your heart pumping, though, innit? A little bit. That's why you sort of do sim racing when you get into a race like that. Especially if you can go through 2 wide, through a chicane and come out the other side, both on the track still.
Yeah, and when you've got a group of drivers like this, you can trust them to be able to do that. So it's like fair play to everyone in the league, really. You know you can do that without any incidents. It's great.
Are you saying that if that was an official, you wouldn't have ended up in the same position?
Oh, I'd have been punted off somewhere on T1.
Yeah,
If that was an official, I wouldn't even bother with that one.
yeah. There's always a torpedo going down into T1, but look,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Absolutely stellar job. We're going to Motorsports next week. What are we expecting from you at Motorsports, bud?
I don't know. I enjoy the track, but I definitely need to get some practice in there. So I reckon top 5's on.
Okay.
Yeah, I've just cursed myself now.
Well, let's hope not, buddy. Let's hope not. But look,
Yeah, something to chase.
yeah, absolutely. You're giving yourself a target. That's all that matters. Look, mate, absolutely stellar job this week. Congratulations on your fair place. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before you leave the booth?
Yeah, I'll give shout out to Daryl Taylor's wife. She's just had minor operation, so get well soon.
We'll get word soon from us here in the booth as well. So, absolutely amazing job, Graham, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yep. Catch you later, James.
See you later, mate. Take care. Right, I want to have a chat with Paul just quickly because I want to see how he felt the race went for him. Paul Lemay, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to finish fourth. Let's put it that way.
No, but as I've said previously, you know, you're there on merit, Paul. You know, I mean, nobody in front of you really careered off out the way. You moved up 2 places, so it's not like you lost a lot. You know, Mike Boost on Paul Crabb coming together probably helped a little bit, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? But overall, Bud, you held it. You had a wicked fight with Graham Brown, and it went all the way down to the wire.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. Really good fun, and we kept it nice and fair, and both didn't do anything silly, so, you know, it's great. You know, I don't mind losing out to Graham. I've lost many times, so just looking for that win perhaps over the weekend. You never know.
Yeah, maybe, mate. And you've had an absolutely stellar few weeks as well. You know,
I'm really happy.
We're going into Motorsports. Your confidence is going to be up at the moment. What do you think you could achieve at Motorsports?
I'm hoping for a good result. I'd really love Motorsport. Yeah, get as much practice in as I can, and I always used to enjoy it in the SR8. So, and I've done a few runs in the SR10, and it's not too bad. I'm starting to sort of learn the car a bit more now, so hopefully get a good result there. You know.
Did your brother have problems? Do you know?
I don't know. All I heard that he was pitting, and that was it. So he must have had contact somewhere, or went off, so I really don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't see anything. That's why I didn't know if you knew.
Yeah.
But look, overall, mate, absolutely stellar job from you. Well done on your 4th place. You know,
Thank you, mate.
we did say to Graham that if that was not a league race, and should we say an official, you may not have survived the 2 wide in the chicane.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a bit hairy, but we made it.
Yeah, well, you made it through, and it just goes to show you, though. I think at that point when you look at it, Paul, it just goes to show you that it can be done. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you've got the ability, shall we say?
Yeah.
But stellar job from you, buddy, and congratulations. Thanks, again. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before you leave me this evening?
I haven't really thought about it, mate, to be honest.
Oh, come on, mate.
A shout out to Graham for some really good, close racing and really fair. Really appreciate it.
Well, there you go, mate. That will do. Very nice. Thank you very much, Paul, for jumping in and having a chat with me. I'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah, cheers, bye.
Take care. Right, I need to have a chat with Phil Glover because I think the problem may have been on my end with this mute that's kicked in for some reason. Phil, good evening, sir. How are you?
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you now, mate. I think there may have been a problem on my end. For some reason, it's muting everybody that I pull into race control. So it's something I will have a look at, bud. Your race was going all right until Paul Crabb. Yeah, you and Paul had a bit of a coming together.
Paul Crabb clipped me. He's admitted it was his fault, but yeah, doesn't matter, does it? I was doing okay, I think. Where did I start? Something like 14th.
Yeah, you started in the 13th, you finished in 14th in the end.
Yeah, so I suppose given that I was losing about 2 seconds a lap with damage and the incident itself, I suppose it's not too bad. Bit of a shame, really. I think I could have been definitely mid-pack tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think, your evening was going really, really well. And as I say, until that contact with Paul dropped you down the order. Going forward, though, Phil, we're going into Motorsport. How do you feel about Motorsport? And what are we expecting from Phil Glover next week?
Well, Motorsport is one of my better tracks. So You probably can expect to see another crash.
Oh, well, that's not positive, Phil. Come on, positive thinking.
Yeah, no, I really like it. It's quite a short track, interesting track, quite good fun.
Yeah, it should be absolutely amazing. But Phil, thank you so much for joining me in the booth once again there, buddy. Anyone you want to give a shout out to this week?
Well, just you guys as normal. Keep up the good work. Great that you're covering off everybody.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much again, Phil. Take care. Have a great week. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Yep, cheers then.
So there you go, Zach. That's obviously the driver's perspective from Graham Brown, Paul LeMay. Both of them admitted that if it wasn't a league race, they wouldn't have survived that chicane overall. But it just goes to show you the standards of the league racing, doesn't it? If you can get yourself into a league that you are confident driving alongside other people too wide, because me and you both know, if we were looking at anything else other than a league race, they would not have survived that move going into that chicane.
Yeah, I mean, official racing can be quite clean. It depends, obviously, what iRating and safety rating you are, and the majority of the time, it's all right, but definitely not to the extent that you get when you come into a league race. Because, as I said before, you come familiar with the people that you race against. You know, you're racing them every week, so you might as well. And you sort of definitely, you know, you have that experience with them. You know what you can and can't do. You know where the boundaries are, and obviously, you know, you go into a league race to have that experience, to be able to race clean, to not have the troubles that you have with an official race. Of course, as we saw with Phil Glover, you know, things can still happen. Things naturally will happen. It's racing. It definitely will happen. But for the majority of the time, you can have those good racing. You can run side by side, and it is awesome to see. Also, I've noticed just sort of like the easygoing atmosphere that is with this series as well. There's a lot of sort of series, especially quite high up in esports, where everyone's a little bit uptight. Everyone's sort of like eyeing each other up. It's very tense, but you can definitely tell here everyone's just here to have a good time, enjoy themselves, laugh and joke, and just have a good race, which I think is really, really important. Because while it's all fun and games, we're all here to have a bit of competitive nature, you know, see what we can do, win races and all that. If you're not enjoying it, then what's the point, really? So yeah, it's really good to see, and honestly, the racing was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what the good thing is, the amount of people that we meet over a period of time. Me and you both know, obviously, we've met all sorts of drivers from, as you say, the very uptight to the very relaxed to, you know, to this group of guys here just racing together. I will say one thing regarding the Paul Grab, Phil Glover. Paul has come out and said he it was his fault. He completely turned in fault, not intentional, was trying to get side draft, but misjudged it. So Paul there openly admitting that he come out and said it was his fault, which is great from Paul Crabb's point of view. You know, he didn't sit back and hide the fact that it wasn't. He'd come out and literally just said, hey, hands up, I've been caught, Gov, it's my fault. Which I think in its own right, there, Zach, is something that you could commend Paul for, because some people don't always like admitting that mistakes are their fault.
Yeah, it's very easy to be like, oh, he's turning on me, he's done this. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm, you know, all high and mighty. I can't do anything wrong. I'm in the right, blah, blah, blah. Stewards give him a penalty. Whatever, it's difficult, and that is natural. You don't want to admit you're in the wrong, especially if you are going to take a bit of a pounding, because you don't know how other people are going to react to it as well. You don't know if they're going to be like, oh, it's okay, don't worry, or if they're just going to say some really nasty words at you. So yeah, it's difficult, but it's good to just hold your hands up and admit when you're at fault, because when it comes sort of in future to have sort of that reputation of knowing that you're not going to be a bit of a how do I rephrase this nicely? Not be a bit of a numpty when it comes to things. It's definitely a good way to have people look at you, and it's just the better way to be as a person. Really, it comes down to the fundamentals of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we go, guys, as well. That rounds out tonight's broadcast there. And what better way to finish than that statement from Zach there as well. Good. Thank you so much to everybody who's joined me in chat. Colin Wynn, thank you very much again, as always. Phil from across the pond, much love to you. And also Damien G popped in at the bottom. So he said he really enjoyed that. So absolutely stellar job from him as well. Guys, that is it. We look forward to seeing you next week at Motorsports. But for now, from myself and Zach Sweeney, you all take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we may see you on the track sometime. Good night.